What's up guys, thanks for checking out my channel again, and yes, I'm back at it again with this time a review on this lens. That's right, it's the Samyang AF 35mm F2.8 FE prime lens. Basically I've had this for nearly a month, so this is going to be a month's review on this lens. Okay, let's just get straight to it, but wait, before you freak out on how long this video may be, please check out the description on the segments that you may be interested in and go ahead and click on what you want to watch. But if you're going to stick around and watch the whole thing, much love to you. Thank you very much. Check out the timeline that I've done below here and go ahead and scrub through where you want to watch. I'm cool with that too. Okay, so the things I'll be discussing in this review would be the following here. It would be autofocus, samples, low light situation, distortion, and also my conclusion, my review, and my thoughts on this lens. So without any further ado, let go and let's do this. Autofocus test for the A6500. Okay, it's set to manual mode here. Here I am, I'm going to put it to autofocus, still shot autofocus, and set the focus mode to expand flexible spot. And go, so press here, and I press here, it hits the spot, and here it kind of misses it but then hits it again. Then I focus here, it's good, hits it here, and when I go in the white areas it just misses it. So I found that it does hit it, but at times it just misses the autofocus spot. For the most part it does focus. Okay, so I'm changing it to autofocus at continuous autofocus here, and I set the focus area to lock on autofocus flexible spot large. So there you go, it tracks the subject. Seems like it's doing a good job at tracking the target that you target. Continuous autofocus seems to work pretty nice. Okay, so movie mode for this autofocus test. For this autofocus test, I set the autofocus drive speed to normal. I'll set the autofocus to continuous autofocus. Focus area would be flexible spot. So it does a decent job at focusing at the area I want it to focus. It's a bit slow, but it's a nice gradual focus to the next target. It's very smooth transition to the focus target. All in all, I think it does a pretty decent job in focusing. It's very smooth, but it could be a bit too slow. Okay, autofocus with the A7R2 set to manual mode. Here the focus area I set to expand flexible spot, and I have set the autofocus to single shot mode. A7R2, and straight away it was struggling to focus, but then I hit it here and then it seems like it's still struggling to focus. I think maybe it's a lot of highlight on the white area and it's not enough contrast for it to focus, or maybe I was too close. So for the focus area, I decided to change this to center, and want to see how this works with the autofocus still shot, and it's quite responsive straight away. It worked quite nicely, but this doesn't give me the flexibility that the expandable flexible spot would give me. This I would have to keep the target centered at all times. Okay, so this one I've changed the autofocus mode to autofocus continuous, and I set the focus area to lock on autofocus expandable area. So this will allow me to lock onto a target and I can move my camera anywhere and it will follow that target. And it seems to be doing a decent job right now. I'm quite happy with that, as you can see here. This last test I'm changing it to movie mode, testing out the autofocus capabilities on this one as I did with the A6500. Set to autofocus continuous and expand flexible spot. And you can see it focuses the background. That's a gradual focus as well, which is nice. Maybe a bit slow as well, so it seems like it's very consistent within two different cameras. Yet again, I've also set this autofocus drive speed to normal. It seems to be doing a smooth job at autofocusing. Before we go ahead and show you some samples from this lens, I'd like to give a shout out to Yuki for being such a great model and such a great support for this lens review. You can find her Instagram page in the link below and also here. Here's a little compilation I did with the A6500 on the video capabilities and the autofocus mode. Here's a compilation of some still shots using the A7R2. Low light video test with the A6500. For this test I kept the aperture wide open at f2.8. For the picture profile I used picture profile 5, which is Cine 1. As you can see, I gradually increased the ISO Immediately at ISO 100 you could already see some noise in the highlights. Around ISO 640 you can see more of the image, then it gets introduced to more noise around the shadows. It's still usable footage, but you would probably need to use a denoiser. At ISO 8000 is pretty much unusable footage. It's a lot of grain, a lot of noise. Don't think you could use it. $25,600, definitely can't use this. This is the maximum ISO for A6500. Low light video tests with the A7R2. For this test I kept the aperture wide open like the A6500, and I did the same test with the ISO. Straight away looking at this, the blacks are more blacks and you could actually see more of the image in this, and I think it's because of the sensor of the A7R2. It's much bigger. As the ISO starts to increase around 800, noise starts to creep in a bit more. You can see more of the image, and it's still very usable. ISO 10,000, very unusable. $25,600, the last ISO for A7R2, and obviously can't use it. Low light still shot test. For this test I used both the A6500 and the A7R2. I left the lens wide open at f2.8 for each of these shots, and as you can see here, the ISO increases. I only use one light source, which is on the very far left, and you will see this in the images. As we go to ISO 3200, it starts getting better, the image. Around ISO 10,000, you can start seeing a bit of grain, a bit of noise on the A6500. Around ISO 25,600, the blacks start turning a bit more of a reddish color. ISO 51,200 is the last ISO stop for the A6500, and as you can see, it is quite grainy. For the second part of the test, I use the same settings for both cameras, except the image is now 100% and cropped. So with this test you can see more detail and where the noise is, and the change of color in both images. For this distortion test, I shot with the A7R2 and the A6500. As you can see here, the ones in red would be the A7R2 and the ones in yellow would be the A6500. These shots here are straight off the camera, so I didn't do any edits. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see the distortion in the A7R2. And off the bat, you can actually see it straight away, like all in these corners, like the very top corner here. You can see that this line is not straight at all. So as you scroll down a bit more, you can see, and then you go all the way down here to the left, bottom left, you can see the, so typically around the corners and on the sides, left sides, you can see the distortion. With that said, you can actually see quite a bit of vignetting as well around here, corners, but if you zoom in here, right in the middle is crisp and clear, but if you zoom out, zoom into the top right corner, you can actually see a bit of blurriness and, you know, unsharp areas, so it looks like it's smudged. I also did the same test with the A6500, and here is that, and straight away you can't see as much distortion as you could the A7R2. I don't even think you can see distortion here, to be honest. I think it's just the wall isn't vertically straight, but here straight away you can see that it looks more like straighter, vertically straight than the A7R2. Like if I zoom in here, you don't really see any distortion here. So, you know, looking at this, having the crop sensor is much better in terms of distortion when using this lens. So as you can see here, on the left is the A7R2 and on the right is the A6500, and straight away you can see it's a full frame lens, A7R2, and the A6500 is the crop APS-C lens. And maybe if I draw a line around about here, I think it's about here to down around here somewhere maybe, and then back up here is where the actual APS-C cropped. And you know, if you look around here, there is no distortion here, and that's the reason why there is no distortion on the A6500. So if I zoom in on the top right corner here, you can see that distortion straight away. Like, it's obvious right there. Like, that's the comparison here. This is at f2.8. So in conclusion, do I like this lens and do I recommend it to anybody? Yes, I do like this lens, and yes, I do recommend it to anybody. I mean, one, for its price point, it's $499 Singapore dollars. It's cheap, and two, it's small form factor. Look at it, it's very small. It's great for the traveler. It's just great. It's like light. The depth of field that it creates, the image quality that it creates it's amazing. Like, and also in terms of video quality, it produces. It's nice. It looks nice on the A7R2 and the A6500, as you saw, and I think you really can't fault it in terms of the quality that it produces and the colors that it produces, and also the depth of field. That's one thing I love about it. And at a wide open 2.8, I mean, under low light situations, it would do nice. It would do. I mean, it would be great if it was 1.8, but given that it's this small, I think it's pretty good. So what do you think? What do you guys think? Has my review helped you out in making a decision on buying this or not? If so, let me know. Write down in the comments what you think.